Hey everyone, it's Heather Nichols for Tailored Expressions. Today I'm sharing this pair of cards that are up for a celebration. And as a bonus, I'm sharing how I created the coordinating tags. It all starts with the Up for a Celebration split stamp and stencil combo set. There's a split red rubber stamp with the balloon strings and confetti, and then stencils to add the balloons and present. You can cut out the balloons and present image using the coordinating Up for a Celebration die. For Sparkle and Shine, I'll be using the Foil It Up for a Celebration panels. I'm foiling with my Mink machine, Silver Shimmer Fun Foil, and the Foil Magic Shims. For sentiments, I'm using the All the Best Birthday stamp set and coordinating dies. I'm using the tiny Twinkles embossing folder, the A2 Layer Stacklets die set, the Little Bits star die, and the Tag Reinforcements die set. For embossing, I have VersaMark ink, the powder tool, silver sparkle embossing powder, and my heat tool. For ink colors, I'm using Popsicle and Plum Punch, Honeydew Melon and Green Tea, Royal Icing, and Tiki Mule. For stenciling, I've got blender brushes and bitty blender brushes, pixie spray to hold my stencils in place. I'm using foam adhesive and liquid adhesive, burlap twine, and a 1/4-inch hole punch. And for splattering, I have chocolate truffle liquid watercolor, Dr. P.H. Martin's bleed-proof white ink, and a water brush. We're starting out by stamping the images from the split stamp onto a piece of sugar cube cardstock. I'm putting the whole split stamp into my mini MISTI in one piece first. I'm going to start with stamping the balloon strings, so I will remove that outer portion with the confetti. I'm heat embossing the balloon strings, and so first I'll treat my cardstock with the powder tool. I stamped the balloon strings using VersaMark ink, and then before I took my cardstock out of the MISTI to emboss it, I used a pencil to mark the corners so that later I can place the cardstock back in the MISTI in the exact same spot. I poured silver sparkle embossing powder over the stamped image and then used my heat tool to melt the powder and emboss the image. I put the confetti border piece back around the balloon strings stamp, and then I'll remove that balloon string stamp, so this time we're just going to stamp the confetti. I'll also place my cardstock back in the MISTI using the pencil guides that I added. I stamped the confetti that goes around the balloon strings with Royal Icing ink. Next we'll add the balloons and present with the coordinating stencils. I added a thin layer of pixie spray to hold my stencils in place. There are etched balloon strings on the stencil to line everything up. And for this first stencil layer, I'm using our new color Popsicle. I'm using my blender brush to apply the ink through the stencil. To add shading to the bottom of the balloons, I'm using a bitty blender brush with Plum Punch ink. I'll remove the first stencil layer and add the next stencil, lining it up with the balloon strings. For this layer, I'm starting with Honeydew Melon ink and adding shading with Green Tea ink. I'll remove layer number 2 and line up layer number 3. For this last layer, I'm starting with Royal Icing ink and adding shading with Tiki Mule ink. Taking off that stencil reveals the completed design. I added splatters to the image with chocolate truffle liquid watercolor and Dr. P.H. Martin's bleed-proof white ink. For each of these, I picked up the color on my brush and then tapped the brush over my finger to add the splatters. Next, I'm foiling one of the panels from the Foil It Up for a Celebration set using Silver Shimmer Fun Foil. I cut a piece of the foil to cover the image and set it on the image pretty side up. I sent this with my Foil Magic Shim and carrier sheet through my Mink to foil the image. I used the coordinating stencils to add the balloons and present, just like I did on the stamped image. Next, I got my die cut machine out and cut down the stamped panel using one of the dies from the A2 Layer Stacklets die collection, and then I used the Up for a Celebration die to cut out the balloons and present. Next, I cut out the foiled balloons and presents with the Up for a Celebration die, and I embossed a panel of Popsicle cardstock using the tiny Twinkles embossing folder. Next, for sentiments, I chose one of the Happy Birthdays and the Celebrating You sentiment from the All the Best Birthday stamp set. I used the powder tool to condition my cardstock, stamped the sentiments with VersaMark ink, and embossed them with silver sparkle embossing powder using my heat tool. The sentiments are cut out with the coordinating dies, and now it's time to put these cards together. For the stamped card, I'm adding the confetti background to an A2 sized panel of Popsicle cardstock. I saved all the negative die cut pieces from between the balloon strings, and I'll add the balloons back into the die cut opening so that I can adhere those into place. Next, I adhered the balloons and present into place using foam squares to pop it up from the background. I cut a strip of thin foam adhesive to add the Happy Birthday sentiment to this card. For the foiled card, I started off by adhering the embossed panel to an A2 size panel of Plum Punch cardstock. I adhered the balloons and present using the foam squares and adhered the Celebrating You sentiment with a thin foam strip. I cut out stars with the Little Bit star die from Plum Punch cardstock that I sprinkled down each card design and then adhered in place with liquid adhesive. The final step for the cards is attaching each of these panels to a top fold toffee A2 size card base. And now for the bonus tags. I took a die cut of the balloons and present from each style of card, and I layered each of them up with 3 additional layers of sugar cube cardstock. This will ensure the tags are nice and sturdy. I also added the sentiments to each of the tags using a strip of the thin foam adhesive. Next, I added tag reinforcements to the top of each tag, die cut using the tag reinforcements die set from Plum Punch cardstock. I added the folded tag reinforcement piece to the top of the tag and used a pencil to mark where I needed to punch the hole. Once the hole was punched, I adhered the tag reinforcements into place. I added a length of burlap twine to the top of each tag. Finally, I added a few stars to each tag that I had cut out from Plum Punch cardstock with the Little Bit stars die. The stars are adhered in place with liquid adhesive. My cards and tags are done, and they are definitely up for a celebration. I hope you enjoyed my projects today, and I hope you learned something new. You can find the supplies that I used to create these cards and tags in the Tailored Expressions web store at tailoredexpressions.com. Thank you so much for joining me today, and don't forget to like and subscribe so you don't miss any of our crafty videos.